I think the young people of the church are the finest that have ever been on planet Earth.
President Nelson impacted countless lives across the globe, from those who are members of his faith and those who are not.
Aaron Cox spoke with local faith leaders who shared how President Nelson was respected and loved by those outside of the church. Aaron?
That's right, Ashley and Deanie. Interfaith leaders from across the state say President Nelson was not just a good friend to them. They say that even though they didn't share his same faith or beliefs, they still believe he is a man called of God.
Rabbi Sam Spector for Congregation Kol Ami will never forget having lunch with President Nelson.
A kind and humble man. Here I was with somebody who is the Latter-day Saints prophet, and yet the way he talked and looked at me was as though he saw holiness in me. And that really meant a lot to me.
Rabbi Spector asked President Nelson for advice.
I receive so much criticism that it's very hard sometimes to do this work. What advice do you have for me so that I don't burn out? And President Nelson gave me the simplest and yet most profound advice, which was, remember two things every morning when you wake up. Love your fellow person and love God.
Reverend Franz Davis remembers a time when President Nelson came to him asking for help. President Nelson was preparing for his speech for the National Association for the Advancement of Colored People and asked Reverend Davis to help him write it.
It was the first time ever, regardless of denominations, that anybody had come to me and said, help, I need to make sure that I'm not saying anything that's offensive or inappropriate in the speech that I'm going to give.
May God bless you, one and all.
A historic speech that started with connecting faith.
I'll remember President Nelson for his willingness to open the door by coming to me instead of inviting me to come to him. That was an open door and an opportunity that will always be remembered.
You're talking to a spiritual leader who's revered.
Indra Neelamegam, a practicing Hindu, remembers attending an interfaith ceremony with President Nelson.
When I went to shake President Nelson's hand, I said, I'm very honored to shake your hand, sir. As a special religious leader, I revere you. And then he immediately said, yes, I recognize the Hindus believe in all faith leaders. And I was touched by the fact that he could recognize my background.
Memories of a religious leader to those outside of his faith.
I discovered a man who didn't seem arrogant at all, was very thoughtful, very humble, really showed that he was trying to think about what was best for his community and for his faith.
Now, some of these interfaith leaders have expressed condolences today, and they also have said that they're praying for Latter-day Saints everywhere because of the events that have happened and unfolded, showing President Nelson's ability to unite those not only within his faith, but those outside. Ashley, Deanie, back to you.